Today, we are diving into one of the wildest comeback stories in the world of trading. It's got a trader named David who took a hit that would end most careers. But he didn't just recover. No, he started over with just $2,000 and managed to build an absolute fortune.
But before we get to the comeback, we have to start with the moment it all just completely fell apart. Look at this number, $850,000. That is exactly how much David lost in a single hour.
So you gotta ask, right, how on earth do you come back from that? I mean, a loss that big could mentally and financially wreck somebody for good. That's what we're gonna unpack here using David's story as our map. All right, let's get into it.
To really appreciate the comeback, you first have to understand the collapse. And believe it or not, it all boiled down to one trade and one very, very human moment of just freezing.
Yeah, those are David's own words. He knew he was supposed to get out. He could see the trade going catastrophically against him. But right then, in that moment, the pressure was just too much. He was paralyzed, completely frozen.
So how did this disaster happen? Well, it was actually pretty simple. First, David was absolutely sure a certain stock was about to tank. So he shorted it, which is basically placing a massive bet that the price will go down. But then, the market did the exact opposite. The stock didn't just go up, it went straight to the moon. And because he was shorting it, his losses weren't just big, they grew exponentially, leading to that massive, catastrophic loss. And this whole disaster revealed the one critical thing he was missing. It's something he now calls a career-saving seatbelt. Think of it like this. It's a hard limit you set with your broker that just automatically kicks you out of a trade if it goes too far south. It's a system that's literally designed to protect you from yourself, from that deer-in-the-headlights moment. You never think you'll need it until you desperately do.
So how did he even get into a position to lose that much? Well, for that, we need to rewind the clock a bit. Because before the $1 million mistake, David's story started in a much more humble and honestly, a much more relatable way.
He actually got the bug for this early on, buying his first stock when he was just 13 years old. Fast forward to 2016, and he's day trading with a small $2,000 account, just trying to figure it all out. But man, it was a struggle. After 2 years of just grinding and going nowhere, he was so beaten down that he just quit trading altogether.
And here's where it gets fascinating from a psychological standpoint. What made him quit wasn't some huge loss. After losing about half of his account over 2 years, the thing that finally broke him was a tiny $5 loss. Why? Because he had poured so much emotion into that one trade. He felt like the market owed him one, and when he lost even that little bit, his spirit just shattered.
But of course, he came back. And he came back right at the start of the 2020 market boom, a time when, let's be honest, it seemed like anybody with a pulse could make money. But his story wasn't about just getting lucky.
And that's really the key question, isn't it? When that easy money dried up, most of those new traders gave every single penny back. But David didn't. He held on to his profits and just kept growing. So what was the difference?
You see, the difference wasn't luck. It was work. While everyone else was just riding the high, David was getting ready for when the wave would inevitably crash. He was studying like a madman, constantly changing his strategies to fit the market and connecting with other successful traders to learn everything he could. He was building the skills to survive long after the party was over.
Okay, now we get to the story that really forged his entire mindset. This one also involves a huge loss, but this time, the consequence wasn't just on his bank account, it was physical.
So after taking a massive $89,300 loss on a bad trade, his mentor gave him a penalty. He had to do one burpee for every single dollar he lost. Yeah, that's 89,300 burpees.
So he did them, about 250 burpees, every single day for almost a year. And that brutal, non-negotiable discipline, doing them on a cruise ship, doing them when he got home at 2 a.m., it literally rewired his brain. He proved to himself that he could follow a rule, no matter what. And that physical discipline translated directly to the mental discipline he needed for trading. He basically realized that your life and your trading are one big feedback loop. If you're undisciplined in your day-to-day life, bad sleep, junk food, you're always looking for those easy dopamine hits. And that exact same behavior carries over into your trading. But if you build discipline in the gym, with your sleep, with your diet, it creates this positive loop that reinforces the discipline you need to succeed in the markets. And that new discipline didn't just apply to burpees. It totally transformed how he learned. He went from being a passive student to an active one. And that, well, that made all the difference.
And this is such a key distinction. We all know passive learning, right? It's when you have a YouTube video playing on 2x speed while you're doing the dishes. You feel productive, but you're not really absorbing anything. Active learning is getting your hands dirty. For him, that meant building a physical database of hundreds of stock charts, studying them over and over, and training his brain to spot those patterns instantly when the market is live.
And all of this leads us to his core trading philosophy, which kind of flips a lot of the common wisdom on its head. It turns out it's not about being right all the time.
Just look at this. His win rate is only about 40%. Let me say that again. He loses more often than he wins. So how does he succeed? He is obsessed with risk to reward. He cuts his losing trades immediately, so the losses are tiny. And when he's right, he lets those winners run as far as they can. So one huge win can easily pay for a whole bunch of small losses. It's a completely different way to look at the game.
Finally, to handle the insane mental pressure, he uses this brilliant mindset shift. Instead of constantly comparing himself to traders making millions a day, which is the gap, he focuses on how far he's come from where he started with just $2,000. That's the gain. It's a way to measure your own progress and keep your sanity in a pretty crazy profession.
Which brings us to our final question. When you look at David's entire journey, from freezing up during a catastrophic loss to forging unbreakable discipline with nearly 90,000 burpees, it really makes you wonder. Maybe the real secret to mastering the market isn't about mastering charts at all, but about the much harder work of mastering yourself.